Good morning, everybody. This is Jasmine Gonzalez. Welcome to my channel. Today is Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. Um, Yesterday, I went to see Confetti Stage Theater production of She Kills Monsters, which is a play written by Qui Nguyen and it was directed by John Baldwin. Um, the reason I went to see it is because the play include um, an element of Dungeons and Dragons, and I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for a very long time. I started playing when I was in high school. I got introduced to it by my friends, but then my friends stopped playing because of the satanic panic. Um, there were concerns and comments that it was satanic, so they stopped playing. When I got into college, when I went to college, I bought an edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Um, This was the one that I first purchased, and it wasn't even in. I didn't purchase this one in Puerto Rico. I purchased it on a trip to Orlando. After Disney, we went stop at a Barnes and Nobles. No, we stopped at a mall in Orlando, and then I got to purchase this edition of Dungeons and Dragons Whole Encyclopedia, and it was in a border store. Borders doesn't exist anymore, but I purchased this and I brought it with me to Puerto Rico. And I didn't have many friends, so I used to play alone by myself. Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is different than the edition that I play afterwards. I think my friends in high school were playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition, and then when I got into college, the edition that I play most of the time was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition, which I have a copy of the rule book, and it's very different. The company that was publishing the game and it's mentioned on the show, um, it's TSR. So this is before Wizards of the Coast bought Dungeons and Dragons and began publishing things for Dungeons and Dragons. So TSR was the original company that published Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, and in the play they mentioned TSR. Um, I have always wanted to see plays by Qui Nguyen. This is one play that I have not read or seen, so it was the first time that I went to see it. I have purchased other scripts. I like theater. I've been doing theater. I went for a degree in theater arts at Hudson Valley Community College in Troy, and I have always enjoyed stage combat. Stage combat is what got me interested into theater, mostly because I have done professional wrestling, and so Queen Nguyen shows they have stage combat, and I couldn't resist the temptation to buy a few scripts, few like years ago, and like this one, Living in Denmark, Man of Steel, which is about superheroes, and Fight Girl Battle World, and again I have the scripts. I never seen them perform, so this was the first time, and I think the reason why I went to see it was because I knew the play may have stage combat. It does have stage combat, and but it has again the Dungeons and Dragons element, and so because of that, I went to see the show. Um, so you may see certain characters in the show, and you may be wonder what are those characters and all that kind of stuff. So Dungeons and Dragons is famous for, it's a role playing game. It's a game that you have a person that plays the narrator describes the world for you, and then you use dice, like this one's game dice, to decide the outcome of what happens in the game. Um, you can explore dungeons, you can explore a world out there, wilderness. The adventures can take place everywhere, and it depends on the story. So some of the monsters, like if you're not a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, you may not understand where the monsters that are uh, used in the story of this show are. So I'm going to try to give you an idea of the monsters that you I saw on the show and my feedback. So again, the play takes place around 1995, and around 1995, the edition that I was playing was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition. So most likely, in the story, that's the edition that they're playing. I could be wrong, but that's my take. So let me show you some of the monsters that they had in the show. So beginning with the famous Beholder. So in the show, there's a beholder monster, and it's discussed one of the boss monsters. I like the fact that in the play, like boss fight 3, and it was fantastic. It was hilarious because that's more or less what we used to do when I was playing in college. Like we'll make it like hilarious sometimes, and the dungeon depending on the dungeon master, they can be funny or not, but that's what how they will probably react. So a beholder, and they look like this. They are monsters that are just round and have an eye, and they can cast spell. They are difficult to kill. They appeared in a game of the arcade game of Dungeons and Dragons, which was Tower of Doom, and I used to play that arcade a lot when I was younger. So the Beholder is eye tyrant, sphere of many eyes, is most frequently found underground, although it infrequently will lure in desolate wilderness. The globular body of this monster is supported by levitation, and it floats slowly about as it wills. Out of the spheres are 10 eye stacks, while its central area are a great 11th eye and a large mouth filled with pointed teeth. The body of protected by a hard um, shields connected the crater eye stacks and eyes are also protected. So yeah, it's a gigantic ball of ice, and like I happen to have a miniature that I purchased when I purchased a box of D&D. And this is the miniature of the beholder. They are gross, and they can cast spell, and they are difficult to fight. Using magical weapons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they're disgusting. They're really really ugly and disgusting. So yeah, this is a beholder, and it's one of the monsters that appear in the show. It's one of the boss fights in the show that happens. So this is a beholder. They are ugly. Anyway, so we already talked about the beholder. Let's move to another of the monsters that appears in the show. So we have the bugbears, which look something like this. And so bugbears live in loose bands, are typically found in the same areas as goblins. Unlike the smaller cousins, however, these hairy giant goblins operate equally well bright daylight or great darkness. So yeah, they're just similar to goblins, and they're attacking. They are in bands, and you may see some of those monsters in the show. So all right, moving on. So we have one of the characters in the show is Orcus, and this is why probably the game had some satanic panic, because this is from the Monster Manual of First Edition by Gary Gygax, and Orcus is under the part of demons, and Orcus is the prince of the undead. It is brought that this creature is one of the most powerful and strongest of all demons. If he so much as stab with his open hand, blow causes 140 points. His terrible fist can deliver blows 3 to 13 hit points. If you use a weapon, he strikes with a bonus of +6 and a +8 on damage. Additionally, he has a tail, and it has virulent poison sting. And so yeah, so Orcus is pretty much the prince of undead, and here's a picture of Orcus. I don't know if you can see it in there. That's Orcus, the one with the wing. He's just a demon, big powerful demon, pretty much. And Orcus is one of the characters that is in the show. He doesn't want to join the party in the show, but eventually he's forced pretty much to join the party. And it was interesting. It was really interesting. So yeah, and we also see in the play, as far as I remember, you also have succubus. They are female demons and are usually not found in numbers, for they prefer to act alone. But in the show, they appear two succubus or succubi, if you want to call it like that, and they have bad wings, and so yeah, they are like they just look like this. And again, they are part of the under the demon section of the manual, and that's why probably Dungeons and Dragons earned a reputation for the satanic panic. Um, so yeah, that's succubus. And then, of course, you have the main one of the main villains that appear in the show, which is one of my favorite. It's Tiamat, which is a five-headed dragon, and Tiamat is right here. You can see a picture, and I talked in a previous video on my channel. I talked about Tiamat being part of the lore of the Ghostbusters. It appears in one of the episodes of the real Ghostbuster cartoon in the episode called "I Am the City," and Tiamat in the Ghostbuster lore is the sister of Gozer, who is one of the main antagonists in Ghostbusters. And so yeah, this is Tiamat. Tiamat. We read a little bit of the entry here. So Tiamat rules the first plane of the nine hells, where she spawned all of evil dragonkind. She hates all good as fiercely as she loves cruelty and hoards wealth. She seldom 10% of her lair, but occasionally she comes to Earth to place a new dragon or to seek more treasure. She can travel astrally or ethereally. Although her sheer size prevents claw attacks, Tiamat can bite with all five of her heads and sting with her tail at the same time. Breathe with one or more of these heads or cast spells with one or more heads at the same time. Tiamat's heads are white, black, green, blue, and red. Her breast weapon corresponds to the color of each heads. And for example, Green Dragon will probably cast. There's a figure of a Green Dragon. They will, if they use breast weapon, it will be a poison cloud. Black dragons, when they do breast weapon, it's not fire. It's acid. Um, Red dragons, which are the ones that most commonly you can see in movies out there, the red dragons when they use their breast weapon is fire. Um, Again, I'm at the anti nerd. Yeah, so but that's Tiamat. Tiamat also happens to appear in the ND Fifth edition um, adventure models of Tyranny of Dragons. There's a new version, but I haven't purchased the book that has both of the adventures, Scream of the Heart of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat together in one book. I don't know if I will get that, but I have the original ones that I purchased, and there's a better picture, more in color. Of like that's how big Tiamat is, and again, the size of Tiamat is gargantuan, so it's a gigantic. Tiamat is a gigantic dragon, pretty much. Tiamat also appears in the Dungeons and Dragon cartoons of the 80s as one of the antagonists. So yeah, um, and in here I have the stats for Tiamat. So it's a gargantuan fiend, chaotic evil, and when he dies, the body is destroyed, but her essence travels back to her domain in the Nine Hells, and she's unable to take physical form for a time. So pretty much, like even if you kill Tiamat, eventually Tiamat will resurrect again. So yeah, and and in here it explains the breast weapons. Like these are the stats that appear in the book. Um, I'm trying to see if there's another picture of Tiamat in here, but I don't think there's another picture in here, unfortunately. If you purchase the new book has a better picture. It's just uh, the whole body of Tiamat. But in here, you can see how big the dragon is. I mean, like this is like it's a gargantuan sized dragon, and it's just freaking scary, honestly. And I remember me and one of my friends in Puerto Rico. Um, we on this one time decided to fight Tiamat, and we almost died fighting Tiamat. The other monster that I saw in the play, it was a gelatinous cube, and with the new Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out, so you may get to see that monster too in the movie. But the gelatinous cube looked like this. It's a gigantic gelatinous cube. Let me read you the entry so you can have an idea of like what it does. So they are nearly transparent that they are difficult to see. These cubes travel down dungeon corridors, absorbing carrion and trash along the way. Their sides glisten, tending to leave a slimy trail, but gelatinous cubes cannot climb walls or cling to ceilings. Very large cubes grow tall to garner monsters and the like from ceilings. Gelatin Scoop attacks by touching victims with its anesthetic slime. Then you have to roll a save versus paralyzation, and the cues run its place, and the secretes digestive fluids and absorb the food. All damage is caused by the acid. Gelatinous cubes are difficult to see, and electricity, fear, holds, paralyzation, and sleep base have no effect, but fire and blows from weapons have normal effects. So there are awful creatures to meet in a dungeon. Like there, yeah. I don't remember if I have ever fought well Gelatinous Cube when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, but yeah, the other aspect about Dungeons and Dragons, beside the dice, and you see the dice being used by the one of the characters in the show. Um, they also not explain too much about Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of stuff. They do a bunch of jokes about role playing, the kind of stuff, or the misunderstanding that happen when you meet a person that doesn't have an idea of like what our role playing games are. So they make jokes of that. One of the things that some people like to use when playing Dungeons and Dragons are miniatures, and you don't get to see that in the show. But some people like to play with miniatures. Um, when I started playing, we never used miniatures, but then um, on third edition, people start using miniatures, and I like collecting the miniatures and sometimes using them. It keeps tracks of like position in on combat of where the players are, and I do like it that way. It's easier for me to visualize where we are in relative to the area that we're fighting when we're fighting the monsters. And so yeah, so those are the monsters that you will get to see if you go and see the production of Shikil's monsters, or at least some of the monsters. Um, we can talk about the character classes too. Um, you'll get to see one of the characters in the show being an elf, and might as well show how elves look like. Maybe, yeah, might do that too. Um, so there are different character classes you can place in Dungeons and Dragons. Um, and back in the day, a paladin could only be a human. If you were to play any other um, race, it will not allow you to be a paladin. To play some of the certain class, you had to be a human, which is not as it is now in fifth edition. You don't need to be a human to be able to be a paladin. You can play a paladin if you are an elf or a dwarf. It's doesn't matter which race you are. You can play any class, which is great. I like that aspect of D&D fifth edition. And trying to find the book here so I can show you how elves look like. Um, like I said, elves one is one of the character that appears in the show, although it's more like a dark elf, which is probably based on Dritz the Warden. Um, but yeah, let me see if I can find an elf here. Picture of an elf, and so yeah. Okay, so go to half elf. And B C D. No. Elf. Tiefling. I'll find the elves in here. Oh, there we go. This is a dark elf. This is a drow. That's probably similar to Dritz Orden, who is a ranger and has had many books written by R.A. Salvatore. But yeah, that's an elf. They look very slenderish and they have pointy ears. Um, so yeah. Um, so other type of races that you can play in the game, or species as they are going to be known now. Um, so are um, dwarves, halflings, half orcs, tieflings, gnomes, and dragonborns. So and half orcs. So yeah, definitely a lot of variety when it comes to the classes. Like the new classes are that you can play are barbarians. Let me see. a barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, and wizards. Um, so bunch of variety that you can choose from. Fighters are expert in hand to hand. Wizard cast spells. I love the fact that they make fun of the show made fun of the wizards being not having a lot of hit points. They also made fun of like what happens sometimes with what some of the monsters do, and I remember in one of the scenes they had one of the wizard character and they pull his arms out and his arms just they they had the the prop arm just around, and then they start using it for weapons. And I remember some of my party members and when I played Dungeons and Dragons doing that and grabbing the an arm and improvising as a club. So it was hilarious to see that. Stage combat was fantastic. I enjoyed the stage combat aspect of the show. I enjoy the way that they have the set in the show very minimal, but I could understand what it was and what they were trying to do, and I enjoy that aspect of the show, keeping the set very minimal, and just focusing on the characters and the acting. That was fantastic. So again, that's that's the end of the video for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you like it, click like. But I hope you enjoyed the discussion about the monsters that you find in in the show She Kills Monsters. So if you ever get to see this show in a different company, or if you go today to see Confetti Stage production of She Kills Monster, those are the monsters that you're going to see in the show. Um, anyway, that's all I got. Peace, everybody. Stay safe.